Okay. So we talked about the concepts of S3, object store, and then storage tiers. And finally, we have seen the static website hosting also. So in the static website hosting, the most important thing is your bucket name must match with your domain name. Otherwise, Route 53 will not allow you to use your S3 website hosting your S3 bucket as your real domain name. But Route 53 may not work. But you can still go ahead and use your S3 bucket as your static website hosting. By all means, you absolutely can. It's just you don't get that vanity URL. You don't get it like nextsteptraining.com. You rather get something like nextsteptraining.s3website.usc2. Like that. Okay, so understand that. So now let's talk about something called lifecycle management. So lifecycle management, we talked about various storage tiers. And as an architect, you need to be very cost aware. I can't stress that point enough. A lot of people have gone to AWS without architecting it right. They ended up paying more bill than their own data centers. So you'll have to be, as an architect, it's all architect's job. As an architect, you have to be cost aware. Yeah. So the point is, the concept of lifecycle management essentially means that you have your standard, you have your storage tiers, you have your S3 standard, S3 standard IA, intelligent tiering, and you have your one zone IA. Based on your needs, your storage tiers should change. And we also talked about the fact that it's not at the bucket level. Your object, different objects within a same bucket can go into different storage tiers based on your needs. So the point is, I want to bring up one example. Again, this is in insurance industry or banking industry. Let's say you work for bank or an insurance, it's the same thing. So you provide the monthly statements. These monthly statements, first 1 month or first 60 days, your customers very frequently access these statements. Very frequently. After 60 days, they typically don't. They might use it, once in a month or probably never sometimes, right? In those scenarios, but you're obligated to store them for several years for archival reasons. And then you can discard them or you can delete them after 7 years. Let's say that's for compliance reasons. There are a lot of compliance policies out there for banks and financial institutions, correct? So being an architect, how will I be able to take advantage of that and save some money? Well, that's where the lifecycle policies come into picture. So go to your bucket and then go to management. So this is about the management. So how do you manage your objects? And this is your life cycle. So you can define your life cycle rule. These are my rules for my bank statement, right? So all of my bank statements are stored in this bank statements bucket name. So first 60 days, or actually 30 days, right? So first 30 days, I want to store them in standard, because these guys read these statements very frequently. I need them to be accessed. They are accessed very frequently. So I want to put them in standard. And after that, up to 90 days, I want to keep it in standard IA, standard infrequently accessed. After 90 days, because up to 90 days, these guys, now first 30 days, they will access it very frequently. So I wouldn't mind paying an additional charge, additional fees for being able to access it so frequently, and I don't have to pay per gig retrieval fees and all of that. Okay, but after 30 days, it's rarely if they ever use it. So I want to keep it in I want to reduce my tiering to standard IA. After 90 days, I want to say up to 6 years, I want to put it in Glacier Deep Archive because I want to save my cost. So with Glacier Deep Archive, it's there for archival reasons. It's the cheapest archival storage service that's available probably in the world. Okay. So I will keep it there, but I know when I need it, I'm not going to get it within seconds. Just by making a REST call, I don't get it. Nope, I'll have to make an initiation and then it takes several hours. It could take up to 12 hours. I'm totally fine with that because I'm storing them for archival. And someone asks, if I'm ever audited, I should be able to pull it within a day. I will be able to. So I'll keep it. And then after 6 years, delete it. This is my use case. I have architected well based on my business domain, based on my problem domain. So how can I put this into code? So that's where the lifecycle rule come into picture. S3 lifecycle rule. You can do this one. So let's implement this one. So first 90 days, add lifecycle rule. Rule name is, let's say, keep in standard first 30 days. Yeah. Apply to all the objects in the bucket. And then storage class transition. There are per request fees when using Lifecycle to transition data to any S3 or S3 Glacier storage class. So there are some retrieval fees when you're moving these files from standard to standard IA after 30 days. Again, after 90 days, if you're reading it from standard IA, if you're moving it from standard IA to Glacier Deep Archive, there is a retrieval fees. I'm okay with that. Okay. And then, do you want to store only the current versions, or do you want to store all the previous versions also? I'll pick only the current versions. So you don't have any transition setup. Yeah. So again, you can use the lifecycle rule even for versions. Okay. After so many days, you can transition into previous versions, etc. You can do that. I don't need to do that here. But let's go. And then current version, previous versions, clean up expired objects, delete markers. So if you have a delete markers, if you really want to delete all of them, you can definitely do that. And see this one here, guys, clean up incomplete multi-part uploads. Absolutely. After 7 days, if someone is trying to do a multi-part upload through a REST API, and if it's not complete, please delete it after 7 days. Clean up expired objects, object delete markers, meaning if there are any expired objects, then delete them. Configure expiration. Expiration, do you want to expire them after, current version? After how many days do you want to expire it? After whatever that 6 years is. I want to expire them after 2000, let's say 2000 days from object creation. Yeah. This is going to be applicable. Transitions, let's click on transitions. For current versions of objects, add a transition. So we didn't apply any transitions here. So let's go ahead and apply the transition. Let's write down the rules. So please transition to standard IA after 90 days. Let's add an additional transition up to 6 years. Transition to Glacier Deep Archive after how many days? 6 years, whatever that one is. Let's say 1500 days. 1500, yeah, let's say 1500 days. Transitioning small objects to Glacier or Glacier Deep Archive will increase costs. Yeah, understand that this is expect a question on this one, guys. Please read this one carefully. Lifecycle transitions include a per object transition cost. For example, if you were to transition all objects currently in this bucket to Glacier or Glacier Deep Archive, the transition cost would be approximately $0 because we don't have anything here. But you can reduce this cost by limiting the number of objects to transition by prefix tag version. Sure. So essentially what he's saying is, if you have 100 gig that's right now available within your bucket, and all of them are smaller objects, okay? Because there is a limit there, right? There is a 40 KB limit, right? There is a 40 KB. Take a look at this one here. 40 minimum capacity charge per object is 40 KB. So even if you have a file, if you have thousands of files, for each one of them is only about 1 KB, 2 KB files, then he's going to charge you for 40 KB. So understand that. Okay, I acknowledge that. And then do I need to, that's it. So I created my transitions and I created my expiration. Expiration is delete. This is all good. This is all good. This rule is applies to all the objects in the bucket. Save. I don't like the lifecycle rule name, but this one I should have mentioned that. Yeah, lifecycle rule for my bank statements. I should have used that name, but anyways. So those are the rules. You can go edit. You can say, see this one. So you'll be transitioning. You're keeping it in standard for 30 days. Actually, is this correct? Up to 90 days, right? Transition to standard IA after 30 days. After 30 days, you'll move there. And then, in between, actually there is after 90 days, you want to move it to Glacier Deep Archive. Another mistake there. Yeah. See, we said after 90 days, we want to move it to Glacier Deep Archive. That's it. I acknowledge that. And then completely expire the objects after 2000 days, which is about 7 8. This is just, I'm showing an example. Make sense? That's it. This is about the life cycle. And there's nothing much more to it, but please expect 1 or 2 questions on the life cycle management and be prepared. That's about the life cycle. There's nothing much to it. Okay. So another concept called cross-region replication, CRR. Cross-region replication. So in the same management section, see here you have a life cycle and you have a replication here. So And you can create a same region replication, or you can do a cross region replication. It's a cross region replication is more interesting. As I told you guys, even though S3 is shown here as a global, S3 is shown here as a global because your S3 bucket names are globally unique across all the accounts of all the users. Yeah. But your buckets are region specific. I mentioned that. So with cross-region replication, what you can do is, let's say you have a scenario where I have my source bucket in Ohio region, and I have my destination bucket somewhere in, let's say, Mumbai region. Okay. And I have some users, some consumers out there in Asia Pacific area. So as soon as an object is uploaded to my Ohio bucket, I want that to be replicated across a bucket in Mumbai region. That is called cross-region replication. And for cross-region replication to be enabled, you must have versioning enabled. It's a very important aspect also. You must have versioning enabled of your bucket. Without that, you'll not be able to do cross-region replication. Okay. And it is an automatic, as soon as the file is uploaded here, it's automatically goes to the other destination folder, and it goes asynchronously. So it's an asynchronous copy. So it doesn't stop me from uploading it. I upload it, behind the scenes, it will happen asynchronously. Okay. You can add a replication rule there, and you can say, do you want to set up replication for the entire bucket? Or you can say only certain files with this particular prefix, or files with this objects with this particular prefix, or objects with this particular tag only should be replicated to the other side of the globe. You can do that. I can say entire bucket. So I don't need encryption options there. And then destination bucket. So you can select your buckets there, and you can create a new bucket. You can create a new bucket, and you select your region here. Buckets in this account, sure, create a new bucket. When you try to create a new bucket, the first thing it's going to ask me is Asia Pacific Mumbai. And then I'm going to say, enter the DNS compliant bucket name. What's my original bucket name is Venkat Personal 2020-copy. Okay, I'm making a copy of this particular bucket, and I'm storing it in Mumbai region. Change the storage class for the replicated objects. Do you want to change it to something else when these objects get replicated to the other side? I don't, well, based on your use case, you can pick that. Okay. Do you want to change the object ownership? Do you want to make someone else as owner on the destination bucket? Okay. So this replication time control replicates 99.99% of your new objects within 15 minutes. Additional per GB data transfer applies. It will be faster. Otherwise, they will be replicated asynchronously in the background, and you must not rely on objects being available within so many minutes or so much time. Meaning it could take time. So I want you to understand that. Any IAM role name, any IAM role for all the, so when a replication happens from source bucket to the destination bucket, you want to, AWS code is acting on your behalf. AWS is running some automation scripts to copy your files from your Ohio region into Mumbai region. And that code needs to assume certain roles, AWS roles. Well, I can do an S3 AWS service, select a role. I can create a role though. I can create a new role and come back here. I can create a new role. AWS Management Console.
There is an option there itself.
Oh,
create new role.
Oh, create a new role. Thank you. Create a new role. So, thank you. So I'll say S3 full access. I'm just giving it. That's it. Actually, I should have named this role name as, I should have renamed it, the role name as copying from Ohio to Mumbai region. Okay. So that's it. That's all you need to do. So it will use this particular, it will assume the appropriate roles and then assign it to your, define it to your role, your, the background process that AWS uses it will assume that role and then copy the files from Ohio to Mumbai region. That's it.
So will it be real-time replication?
It's a asynchronous replication. Oops. Yep. This is an asynchronous replication. It's a real-time replication, but it's asynchronous replication. So go ahead and copy this guy. Oh, by the way, so now what we'll do is, this is your, this is my US East Ohio, and this is my Asia Pacific Mumbai. So let's go ahead and upload a file. And replication will only happen from the point forward onwards, meaning all the previous records, it will not replicate it. Let's go ahead and upload the README. You can wait and okay. So you just have to, but you can never rely on, you must not rely on any timing. So it's asynchronously happening it in the behind the scenes. Okay.
So you can schedule it.
No, you cannot schedule it. This is a cross-regional replication that's automatically done. It's a managed service provided by AWS for you.
Can we have a SNS on this, Venkat, on this folder whenever it receives you file?
Can we have
the transition happened? I mean,
why do you want to do something?
Yeah.
Why do you want to do it? What's the objective there?
I don't know. I want to notify the user that something like that. I mean, your use case.
This is a continuous replication. This is like your Linux rsync.
Okay.
Okay, you have two different machines, one in Ohio, the other one is in Mumbai. Okay, it will take its own schedule. So that's why it says that please do not rely on any time. Okay, if you absolutely need time sensitive within 15 minutes, then you need to select the time control. So otherwise it's just pure, it depends on the traffic. There you go. It came up within less than a minute, right? But there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee. Amazon does not guarantee that. So please do not rely on any of that. So it came to Mumbai. This is in Mumbai. Make sense, guys? And there is another concept called S3 transfer acceleration. We'll talk about it probably sometime later. So what it does is, I'll not worry about it. We'll talk about it. So does that make sense? So this is not your control. This is not in your control, Kiran. This is a managed service that's provided by AWS where, if you need the replication across two different objects, across two different regions, you just enable versioning on both source and destination buckets. That's very, very important aspect and important for the exam also. Enable versioning on both source and destination buckets. And then just start replicating it. But please, you cannot rely on the time. Okay. So that's it. It's a simple concept. I wanted to mention it.
Venkat, this copy bucket, can you add this to your Route 53?
This one? No, you cannot.
Okay. Yeah,
Because, I mean, if you have, you can, but if you have to have this
copy.
exact same
name. Okay.
Exact same domain name, right? This particular one you cannot, because there is no .com or there is no top level domain name. So does it make sense? Okay. So with that said, without delay, let's look at my notes there. Cross-region replication. It's an automatic asynchronous replication to destination object. Destination bucket can be owned by a different account, absolutely. Versioning must be enabled on both source and destination buckets for CRR, cross-region replication. So why do you want to do that? There may be a compliance reasons or minimize latency for customers in a different geographical area. So, you know, my Mumbai, my Asia Pacific customers, I want my Asia Pacific customers to access my files from the nearest regions bucket. Make sense? I want them to do it. And I want my rest of the world consumers to access the files from my Ohio region. So if I have a use case like that, then I can do a cross-region replication. Or if I have compliance reasons to maintain copy of my secret information or my financial information in two different continents for whatever the compliance reasons. If you have that, absolutely. But also understand some data rules by certain continents. You know, be aware of EU data rules. So European Union has a specific rule governing the data, saying that data pertaining to European Union people cannot leave the EU region geographically. You cannot store that anywhere in the world. Just understand that. Okay, with that said, let's go have some fun. So these are some aspects of S3. So what I wanted to do now is, I wanted to show you guys, how do we interact with this S3 objects? You know, obviously one way is AWS Management Console. That's what we have been seeing, but you also understand that's not fun. I mean, it's good for a simple use case. It's good to stand up your static website hosting and yeah, understood. But if you really want to use this at the enterprise level, and I want you to understand one thing very clearly here, you do not have to use any other EC2, any other AWS services to use S3. In fact, a lot of the companies in the world, they use S3 and S3 alone for their object repository, documents repository. They just store it because they have versioning, they have lifecycle management, they have a cross-region replication, they have a high level of security, they have an encryption at rest. Of course, you have encryption in transit anyway in the form of your TLS, HTTPS, but you have encryption at rest. And most importantly, there is a beautiful REST endpoints, REST APIs. So, in fact, AWS Management Console, you are using your browser AWS Management Console to create the buckets, to upload the objects and all. Behind the scenes, it is using the same powerful REST APIs. You didn't know, that's all. You're using a fancy GUI. But behind the scenes, it's using REST APIs. Well, you can use those REST APIs yourself too. You can use your own REST APIs yourself too. So that's one way to use it, using the REST APIs. The other way is there is a command line tool. There is a command line utility that you can download and install in your Mac or Windows machines and then use it. That is called command line interface, AWS CLI. It's a Python-based utility. Under the hood, it's using the same REST APIs again. Under the hood, it's using the same REST APIs, but it gives you a simple, after you configure it in command line, you can say, there's simple commands, AWS S3 copy, copy this object into S3 bucket. You can use that. AWS S3 make bucket, meaning create the bucket with the bucket name. You can do that. So from your machine, without having to log into management console or anything, you can do that. And finally, the most powerful approach is the SDKs. So again, these SDKs, it's providing libraries essentially. AWS provides libraries to interact with the S3. So you have Java SDKs, you have .NET SDKs, you have Python SDKs, you have your, for all popular programming languages, you have SDKs. And again, behind the scenes, they're using the same REST APIs. So the power of S3 comes from the fact that they have the most resilient REST APIs available. They built it bottom up, and then there are 3 different interfaces to the same REST APIs. That's how I look at it. Let's take a look at it. So we have been playing with AWS Management Console, and how can I play with the REST APIs? Well, if you really want to do it at the lowest level, ideally you want to do it either with SDK or CLI. But if you really want to do it, I'll show you a simple example. So the first thing you want to do is, let's go to I'm using this tool called Postman. Postman is used to kind of test your REST APIs, right? So if you want to get an object that is not public, I mean, public object, you can get it. It's no big deal. It's, you guys know that. I don't need to say that. Let's say this today.txt, if there is there, okay. So I will take out this txt file, object URL. I'll put it in the, like how browsers send it. See? This is, these are my, some notes somewhere, I think, this is there in S3. So this is your bucket URL and / object key. So this is my object URL. Well, this is a public file. Public file, anybody can get it. You don't need Postman for that, right? And that's not the power of REST APIs anyway. It's your browser is able to get it without sending any token, any of that, because it's public. It's accessible to everyone. But I want to read a private file. Okay, let's take a look at that. So do I have, yes, I'll create a new bucket. I'll call this next step training 2020 batch 3. Yeah, let's take a look at it. In Ohio region, well, I can do anywhere. Let's go create. I just created it. I didn't, I went with the default object, bucket and objects are not public. Makes sense. Let me go ahead and upload a file. So if I try going to that URL, I'll get access denied. Fair. And then I can Go to my Postman. Access denied. Makes sense. I got 403 HTTP status code 403 forbidden, right? Now, what I want to do now is how can I access this programmatically? How can I access it? I want to log in as somebody. I want to log in as somebody and get this object content. That's my objective. So how will I be able to do that? And better yet, I want my Java program to get it. Of course, we will get there. But first, let's start with the Postman, right? So what I want to do is, I want to create a new user using this AWS service called IAM, Identity and Access Management. I'm going to create a new user, but that new user is not a human, but it's a programmatic access. I want the programmatic access because I want my program to communicate with S3. I want to use that to read files, and I'm going to give access to that particular guy. So I'm going to give S3 full access to that particular guy. And I'm going to use his credentials and then give it to Postman and then say, hey, this is I'll go to my header. Okay, I'll go to authorization, and then there is within Postman, in the newer versions of Postman, you go down here and then see here in the authorization, AWS signature. So you have to use credentials here. Well, as you guys know, probably, if you are a human, you will have a user ID and password. If you are using a programmatic access, there are two things that typically, this is an industry standard, it's a typical OAuth pattern, like an access key and secret key. Your access ID and your secret access key. So these are the two combinations that you would need it. So how will I get it? Well, let's go. So without delay, let's go to services and then search for IAM, Identity and Identity and Access Management. I do not have any users at this point. Click on users. I'm going to select a user. And I'm going to say that some user like S3 user, S3 user 1. Okay. And then see this one here. Do you want to allow a programmatic access? What kind of user is this one? He's a programmatic guy. So this enables an access key ID and secret access key for the AWS API, CLI, SDK, and other development tools. So if you have this programmatic access, this is not a regular human. If a human, you can give this access also. Then you'll get your user ID and password. You can select your password. But this is not my intention. I do not want to give him AWS Management Console access. This is an application user. If it makes sense. Go to permissions. And then I want to give some permissions. Well, when it comes to permissions, I can assign a set of permissions to a role. I can create a role. And I can grant that role to a user directly. Or I can create a group of people as a group. Okay, let's say in a typical company, let's say all the HR people belong to a group called HR. So there you will have a HR user 1, HR user 2, HR user 3 users. All of them belong to HR group. And now I can control access at the group level. Now I can create bunch of permissions and create a role, and I will assign that role to that group itself. Everybody within that group will get it. Okay, so I can create a new group. since I used HR, maybe I can use this guy as HR itself. HR user 1. Next permissions, and I can create a new group called HR group. And then what kind of policy do you want to give it? So do you want to let me go first create a group with empty policies, and now next tags, nothing much, review. So what did I do just now? I'm creating an empty user, a programmatic user, and then I added this guy to HR group. So I created a user called HR user 1, and this is the access key ID. Please keep them safe, somewhere safe. So this is my access key ID and my secret access key. Please show that secret access key. This is my secret access key. So these are my username and password equivalent for a human. These are my username and password equivalent. Your secret access key will be shown only once. If I close this one, and now it will not be shown again. Okay. Security credentials and secret access key, and you will never see this guy again. Okay. Now, permissions. What kind of permissions does this guy have? He doesn't have anything. Well, he belongs to this HR group. So let's go to group. Group, does it have any permissions? Well, no permissions at this point. But at least what did we create so far is we created a user with his user access key and secret access key, and we have access key and secret access key. These are user ID and password equivalent. Please take that access key and secret access key. Access key ID, that's what they call it, access key ID and secret access key. These are, if you're familiar with OAuth 2 by any means, you guys probably are familiar with it. These exact same, OAuth uses the same standards, okay? So this is a user ID and password equivalent. And now you're giving AWS region US East 2, sure, service name is S3, and that's it. And let's go ahead and send it. And all I did was, so it's again, I get the forbidden. Makes sense. But at least I'm able to pass my access key and secret key this time. So what did I do here? I used Postman. I'm trying to go to this today.txt file within this bucket. I'm trying to access it using my credentials. It says that 403. There's no difference between whether I provided this or not. Why? Because this particular user does not have any permissions. This HR user 1 belongs to HR group, and group does not have any permissions. Okay, let's attach some policies. Let's give S3 full access. Amazon S3 full access. This is a policy name. Policy is nothing but a simple document, as I showed it to you in the bucket policy. So let's take a look at the show policy. See this one? A simple JSON file. It's a policy version is this one. Statement, effect, allow, action, S3:*. Remember earlier we gave action as, in the bucket policy, we gave S3:get object. So, and then resource also, we gave ARN, Amazon resource name of our own bucket, and put a /* there. What did we say earlier through bucket policy? We said that everyone will be able to access S3 get object will be allowed to all the resources under ARN. But this one, what we are saying is, this guy can do everything in S3. He can create the objects, he can create the buckets, he can delete the buckets, he can do everything. And of all the resources, of all the buckets, there's no specific ARN we gave it, and it's allowed. So now we did it. So we attached policies to a group. Now our user belongs to that group. Now let's go to Postman and then try accessing it. There you go. You got the content now. This is a private one. And by the way, now try going into your bucket, S3 bucket. Maybe I'll go here. Go to S3 bucket. And I create this next step training 2020 batch 3. Today.txt. Try going here. Access denied. It is access denied for public people, but this guy, our user, go to IAM. We have one user. This guy gets, see this one? He has got Amazon S3 full access. How is he getting Amazon S3 full access? Through group, because he belongs to a group and group has this particular policy attached to it. You can, of course, you can bundle bunch of policies and create a role, and you can assign that role to an individual, or you can assign that role to a group also. You can do that. But in this case, all we needed was Amazon S3 full access. Now this guy has full access. So under the hood, what it does is, when you put type AWS signature and all, right? If you really look at it, what it does behind the scenes is that it creates a HTTP header. It uses some complex algorithm. It's not a simple base64 encoding of your access key and secret access key. It will do using HMAC and other algorithms. It encrypts all of this information and put it in a HTTP header and send it across the wire in a free internet. Of course, through SSL tunnel. And then the other guy will take it. He will decrypt it, take out the access key, secret access key ID and secret access key, and then see if you guys have, if this particular user has any credentials, they can get it. So this is the HTTP GET on this particular guy. This is like a equivalent to your S3 : get object. Make sense? Of course, you can do your S3 : put object, but when you create a put object, you will have to, your payload will be this big. You will have to provide a lot more information. Okay. Rather than doing it with Postman, I will show you that using SDK. But does that make sense? All the power of S3 comes from the single point that they have a powerful REST API. And all the other fancy means like your AWS management console, or I'm going to talk to you guys about CLI, command line interface, and your SDK, all of them depend on a single source, which is this powerful REST API under the hood. Any questions? Does that make sense? You guys understood? Okay. With that said, let's move on to another kind. So I showed you a REST endpoint. Now there is another way that you can interact with S3, that is command line interface. So with the command line interface, you will have to download your AWS CLI. So you can Google AWS CLI or Bing it. AWS CLI download. Please download that and pick up the AWS shell. Where is my download guy? Windows download and run a 64-bit Windows installer. So this is your version 2 AWS CLI v2.msi. Once it's downloaded, open the file, you install it. A very simple, utility. There's no prerequisites. It already comes with the prerequisites. It's needed Python. Python is required for that. It comes with it. So don't worry about it. Okay. So now I have downloaded and installed already. So once you install it, so the way it works is, the way it works is, so let's go to see, this is my home directory, right? Where is my .aws? There you go. So let me delete this guy. You guys are probably familiar with this concept here in Maven, Java-based build tool, right? If you're using Maven, it automatically creates a .m2 folder within your home directory. Similarly, when you install your AWS CLI, it installs it creates this new folder called .aws. So first time when I'm using using the CLI, so just type this AWS commands. So when you enter that AWS, it says that, well, at least CLI is installed. It is telling you that's not the correct way to use it. So what I will say is the first step that you want to do is AWS configure, or let's say, I know some commands, AWS S3, give me all the buckets, let's say, right? So it is saying that unable to locate credentials. I'm sorry, guys. I don't understand. I understand your command, but I don't see your credentials. You can configure credentials by running AWS configure. This is the first command that you want to do it. So I'm doing AWS configure. It is asking me two things here, a couple of things here. AWS access key ID, which I stored it. So now I'm using this guy, AWS secret access key. This is your secret access key. And now default region is, I'll use my default region as US East 2. Default output format, JSON. That's my, see this one? But I'm done here. It stored this piece of information into .config and credentials file here, if you really look at it. See that? It's stored here, my details here. And from here onwards, this is one-time activity. Now you do not have to do it anymore. Now, let's do a AWS S3 ls command. There is a command called S3, and there is a sub command called list. Give me all the S3 buckets is what we are saying. AWS S3 ls, a simple Unix-like commands. Okay, and it gave me all these details here. Next step training 2020 batch 3, next step training.com, Venkat personal 2020, Venkat personal 2020 copy. Okay, sure. Now, if I use any other commands, AWS S3, let's say make bucket command, I'm creating a new bucket, let's say test bucket. Invalid argument type, S3 URI, oops, S3 make bucket. So this is how you have to give. There is something called S3 URI, okay? So you have to give your bucket names in this format, like how you have http:// you have a S3:// your bucket name. This is the bucket name. Make bucket failed, S3:// test, and error occurred when calling the create bucket operation. Under the hood, it's using the same create bucket operation. Under the hood, that create bucket is using the same REST API. The requested bucket name is not available. I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and use a different name because somebody took it. How about this one? nextsteptraining.com. I'm sure if I use this one, I'll get the same message saying that your previous request to create the name succeeded and you already own it. There you go. It's saying that you already own it. It's a different message. So if I try using something like my website previous one, you'll get the same error saying, I'm sorry, you cannot use it, you don't have it, right? So now let's create a new one. I will call this next step training 2020 batch 3 new, something like that. There you go. Make bucket successful. Now, AWS S3 LS. Give me all the bucket names. There you go. My new bucket came. Did it really create? Can I go to my AWS management console and refresh that page? Maybe you can. What do you mean maybe? I'm just joking there. There you go. You got your new bucket there. Make sense? So
It's making me as a public because of the rule, I mean, the policy that was set up on the bucket.
yeah, you can, with this one, AWS S3 MB, you have 100 different options. You go to AWS S3 MB options. There are, this is 1.18, but you can use this one also, not a big deal. MB options, there you go. Output, where are the sub options? There you go. Output, okay, you can only provide the region. Then S3 make bucket, default private. Oh, AWS S3, okay. You just have to use play with the options and do it. Okay, I can do it outside of it. Not a big deal. But essentially, but that's the default option that that's provided. Now, let's say I want to copy. Let's say locally I have a file called. Let's say I have a local file called finance details. Yeah. So let's say, let me see, AWS S3 copy finance details.txt and then S3:/ my bucket name. What's my bucket name? This is the newly created bucket, right? This is my bucket name / and I want to use the same. So upload it. Let's see if it's successful. Let's refresh it. There you go. Of course, it's access denied because it was not made public. You can make public. So you can do an sync between your bucket and with your local file system. Okay, it's a class by itself. CLI can take good 5-6 hours by itself. CLI is not just for S3, but this is how you can interact. Okay, you can create a bucket, you can delete a bucket. I believe that's you can move files, you can MV command, your typical Unix commands here, okay? And you can remove bucket. I believe you can do that. AWS S3 remove bucket S3:// and then this is my bucket name. It's not empty. Probably it will tell me it's not empty. The bucket is empty, and I can do a force. You can Google it. Okay, CLI remove bucket force. CLI remove bucket. Even though it is delete bucket S3 API, you can do an S3 API, RB remove bucket, CLI remove bucket, options, AWS command line interface. So the problem is my Bing versus Google. That's the, okay. Deleting or emptying a bucket. See that? Delete a bucket using, do we have force? There you go. AWS S3 RB bucket name -force. That's all. --force. By no means this is a complete course on CLI, and I have no intention to do that, by the way. That's it. It's deleted, and I can safely delete this guy also. It's AWS S3 RB. I think we can move on. I think I made my point. With CLI, you can do all of that. Okay. So this is another way of interacting with it. There you go. Buckets are gone. Now let's find the last way and the most powerful way of interacting with S3. That is using SDK. Let me show you how to do that. So I have this Eclipse open. Okay, I created a simple, I hope. I'm actually, first let me set the stage here. AWS supports several programming languages, Java, C#, Python, and a couple more. So I'm using Java SDK here. Most of the people are familiar with Java here. That's the most familiar programming language that I've got. So that's why I typically use Java for my classes. Yeah. So I've created a simple Spring Boot project. This tool here I'm using called Spring Tool Suite. This is my favorite IDE. It's an Eclipse IDE, but it's Eclipse ++. It comes with some of the Spring plugins. That's all. And Spring has been my favorite for the last decade plus. Okay, so I use this particular IDE, STS, Spring Tool Suite. You can use anything. Okay, so I created a simple Spring Boot based project. If you are wondering how to do that, very, very simple, especially when you have this STS. New Spring Starter project. Spring Starter project is nothing but your boot project. Okay, you just give your name. Let's say S3 demo. Yeah, you give your group name, your artifact name, your version name. Okay, and then next. And then, do you want any libraries out there for this guy? Do you need any libraries? Let's search for AWS. There you go. AWS core exists. So click next. Finish. This is S3 demo. Let's wait for.
Venkat, can you show that AWS code, that thing once more?
Absolutely. So new Spring Starter project, and then give your name, and then here, these are all the available libraries. So what it does is, let's say if you want Spring Cloud Config, for example, it's a beautiful library out there. So it will add to your Maven pom.xml. That's all it is. There's nothing more to it. Okay. So take a look at this one. All it does is go to your pom.xml now, and then you will see all of this. You have your Spring Boot Starter, Spring Boot Starter, Spring Cloud Starter AWS. Oh, it's adding a Spring Cloud wrapper to your AWS. Okay. Spring Boot Starter test, all of this, it's doing it because I selected AWS, right? So that's all to it. So now, if you don't want to use Spring layer on top of AWS, what you can do is a simple, that's what I did. What I did it is, I have my Spring Boot Starter and Spring Boot Starter test. See this one here. So this is my group ID com.amazon AWS. And then I have an artifact ID, AWS Java SDK S3. This is the S3 library. I got it from Maven Central Repository. Yeah, all you have to do is, it's this simple. You don't need any information here. I don't like Bing for some reason. AWS S3 Java SDK Maven. That's it. Simple. Maven repository. There you go. It takes you to mavenrepository.com, AWS Java SDK for Amazon S3. Pick up the latest one, click this guy, and then pick this guy, copy it, put it in your POM XML. That's it. Okay, that's the only library we needed. And I put this common CSV for a different use case, but I'll show it to you. So here I have this simple S3 demo. Take a look at this one. I have a simple main class here.
So you did not do any Maven update since you added something to Maven.
Yeah, it automatically picked up. It automatically picked up. And this is my existing one though. I already put this the whole repository in GitHub, so you can get the source code. So no worries. Okay. So let's take a look at this simple S3 demo. You have your main method here, okay? And it expects two environment variables to be passed. It expects your Java program to pass both of them, AWS access key ID and AWS secret access key. So let's provide our details there. This is my access key ID. And then this is my secret access key. Okay, I gave my details now. And now this is your client builder. You're using your builder pattern. So Amazon S3 client builder dot standard dot with region. I gave the US East 2 region and dot build it. It gives me an object called Amazon S3. And once you have an Amazon S3 object, then you can go bonkers with it. So meaning S3 dot get, let's say, get bucket. Let's say get bucket details, get bucket location. I can give a bucket name, or I can do a get bucket policy. Look at it. Actually, I'll just do a get. Take a look at how much it has it. Get bucket accelerate configuration, get bucket analytics. I want to show you all of them. I mean, just want you to understand. Get bucket location. If you have the bucket name, it gives you the location. Okay, let's go to this guy here. This is my bucket name. I'm giving my bucket name here. This is my location, right? So I'll do a sysout. My bucket location is that's it. Let's go ahead and print it and see what happens. It's a simple main app. So my bucket location is US East 2. There you go. Okay. And let's say if I want to create a new bucket, yeah. If I want to create a new bucket, see, S3 dot create bucket. It's that simple bucket name, and you can specify a region. There you go. I can even specify a region now. Next step, training 2020 batch 3 dash Mumbai. Yeah. So, and is it a string, or the next one is region object? Okay. Region dot Asia Pacific Mumbai, AP underscore Mumbai. So I'm creating a new bucket in Mumbai. the method is deprecated, rather use something else. That's fine. I don't mean to be a production ready code here. Bucket name should contain uppercase characters. Should not contain any uppercase characters. Please, that's very, very important, guys. You know, so it should not contain any uppercase characters. You know why they restricted? Because of the DNS complaints. Okay, the AP South 1 location constraint is incompatible for the region specific there you go. Because here I gave a with region, right? So I have to do a region.ap Mumbai. Now that should work. What happened? Oops. Region AP. Oops. What is this? AP. Mumbai is what? Southeast or?
West. Mumbai is in the western part of India.
Yeah. No, from the region perspective, go here. It will tell you.
Okay.
It will tell you Asia Pacific, Mumbai, AP South 1. So that's what I was looking for. So AP South 1. There you go. So now it works. That's it. That's it. I didn't get any errors. So let's go and find out. Let's refresh. There you go. Next step, training 2020 batch 3 Mumbai. Okay. Now, what you can do is let's create a new file within that, right? So we created a bucket. What we can do is we can even put. So what I can do is I created already a bucket. Now what I can do is let's go ahead and get the bucket and upload a simple file with the content itself. S3 dot S3 dot and S3 dot put object bucket name, and then you can directly do this is the beauty, your bucket name. So what's the bucket name? This is our bucket name. This is my bucket name, and I'm creating an object. So with the object key name, any key name, sample file. Sample file.txt is my object key, and then these are my content. Sample content that I'm demonstrating. That's it. S3 put object. Now a new file will be created there. There you go. We got the sample file. I know this is not public. This is not public. And now what I want to do is I want to retrieve this file. I want to retrieve this file using my, I want to retrieve this file because it's not public, using my Postman. Let's go to Postman. I'm using my access key ID and secret access key. Authorization header malform, the authorization header, the region USC2 is wrong. There you go. Excellent. So this is, what's that? AP South 1, because it's in Mumbai region, right?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Sample content that I'm demonstrating using Java.
So with Postman, can you do, see you're doing all get operations. Can you do post, delete and all those things too?
Yeah, I was saying that's, you have to give a bigger payload and you have to do a lot more to that. That's why I wanted to show that with the SDK, because it's a little involved there.
Okay.
You can absolutely do that. Under the hood, it's the same stuff, but it's not as easy as just put a HTTP put and then put a body there, right? That's why I wanted to use this, example for get, and I want to use this for all the complicated stuff. Make sense? And if you have a file locally, you can stream it. You can stream it. See here, s3.get object. I got HTML file, and I got this s3 object here. Object.get object content, and I got the content in the form of stream, s3 object input stream. And then I've used this IOUtils.toString to convert that stream into string. I know that's all stored in memory, but I knew the content length. So not a big deal, I stored it. So if you guys want to do that, that's exactly what you can do.
Okay, so what annotations are you using?
Well, what do you mean?
Do you need any annotations for this, since it's Spring Boot?
I'm showing this using a simple main method, right?
Main method, right? Okay.
So what you can do is you can wrap this with a simple REST controller. Okay, so let me show you. Later on, we are going to see an example. This is what I want to keep this with you guys in the brains. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll create an S3 bucket. Okay, and we are going to, let me step back and give you a higher level problem domain statement. We will be exposing, we are a weather API company. We are a weather API company. We will get weather data from some government location or somewhere. We will get that weather data in the form of CSV file. One of our analysts who is not technical, he or she will upload that CSV file into S3 bucket. And our code will programmatically, our Java code, when you call a REST endpoint, what it will do is it will call that CSV file. It will go to S3, get the CSV file, parse the content of CSV file, and give it back to you as a REST endpoint. Does that make sense? Keep this use case in mind because I'm going to complicate this one. We are going to talk about a concept called relational database service. That's when I introduced the databases to you in cloud. So once that comes into the architecture mix, the way I'm going to complicate it is our code is going to get the weather content from S3 bucket, parse it, and store it into MySQL database in the cloud. And some other REST API will read the data and expose it to my clients. And later on, we will be learning a concept of Lambda. I'm not going to talk about what it is, but essentially what happens is it's an event trigger. It's a piece of code that gets triggered on an event. We're going to complicate that use case. The way we do it is that as soon as file is uploaded into S3, I want my Lambda to be triggered. I want my piece of code to be triggered. That piece of code will read the new file and update my database so that my REST API will always read from the database table. I don't know if you guys understand or follow it or not. Do not worry if you did not follow it, because I'm going to make it, baby steps over the period in the next 2 weeks. Make sense? So let's start with the first baby step for that. The first baby step is I have a CSV file. I have a CSV file. I have a CSV file here. Is it a lambda1? Let me show you a CSV file. API gateway and handler or no? So I have a CSV file. Let me show you. Yep, weather data.csv file here. Take a look at this CSV file. So this is how it's going to look. So I have two pieces of information here. I have a zip code and I have a corresponding temperature. And I have temperature in F and C, Fahrenheit and Celsius, right? So these are all the zip codes. I only have, it's that simple. It's a simple comma separated file. Make sense? So I'm going to copy this guy into our, where is our S3 Java SDK? So I'm going to copy this guy here or somewhere in that location. Actually, what we can do is we can upload this guy. We can upload this guy into S3, S3 bucket, and then our Java code will pull it and parse it. Okay, so let's go do that. So this is where this one is. Let's go upload it. What I want to do is I will upload let me upload this guy. I know it's publicly available data, publicly available CSV file, because this whole bucket itself has been made public. Okay, so everybody can get it. Not a big deal. That's not the point. We already talked about permissions, security, and all. So let's go pull this guy. Now, this is my bucket name. This is my bucket name, Venkat-personal-2020. So I have created this object called weather. Sorry, I think I opened too many projects. So let me close all of them except my, whatever I needed. Okay, so I created this object called weather zip code and temp, get and set, simple. And now I created this class called weather data retriever. So weather data retriever, so you give me the bucket name, you give me the object name, object key. Object key is nothing but your file name, this guy, weather data.csv file. And this is my object URL. You give me the bucket name here. So what I'm doing is I'm assuming that it's in US East 2 region. So I'm going to Amazon S3 client builder.standard with region US East 2.build. I got S3. Now S3 I use this get object request. Okay. This get object request is again another Amazon object. It takes a bucket name and object key. I got the object, and then I use this S3.get object. I used it, and now I got the S3 object. Now once I get it, I said S3 object, give me the object content. This is my object content in the form of stream. So I gave this new input stream reader, and I got the reader. Now I'm using a simple utility called, see here, I'm using a simple library here called common CSV. I'm not sure if how many of you are familiar. This guy will simply parse the CSV files in a neat way. So the CSV format .default.parse, I'm reading that parser. I'm passing that reader to this guy, and I'm getting a list of CSV records. It's an iterable, it's the same thing. So I'm getting a bunch of CSV records. CSV record is also an object of, it's a class inside that common CSV. So now I'm creating this list of weather objects. Okay. So I'm looping through the CSV records. I'm in this one. First one is a zip, because in a comma separated file, our first token is zip. The second token is temp. I'm creating an weather object. I'm setting them. And now I'm creating the fully populated object into the list. And then I'm just sys out the size. Make sense? So I'm returning this guy. So all I want to do is, I want to call this guy from my main method. Simple S3 demo, right? Simple S3 demo. And this guy is calling the system.set property. So I'll take out all of this. Weather data retriever equal to, I know I'm not using any of the Spring injection or any of that because I'm using a simple main method here. If you want to expose this as a REST, then wrap it with a Spring service, and you already have a weather data retriever. Yeah, just put an at component wrapper there, and then inject that into your REST controller, and piece of cake, right? So weather data retriever dot get weather data, and I'm giving my bucket name. What's my bucket name here, guys? Venkat dash personal dash 2020, and object key is. So we are going to complicate the stuff very soon. List of weather objects. List of weather objects. Something like that, right? Now I can, if I want, I can just no. I can do a simple print. Temperature in.
So you're not using lambda? Java lambda expression?
I can. That's probably a better way. I think I did not.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think
that shows that you've got a lot of years of experience, because when you started at that time, lambda was not there and it came later on.
Yeah, no, I do both. It just depends. See that, what our program just did? It went to S3 and then got the file in this particular bucket, in this particular object, and then got it. That's it. And then it just printed 23F in 48083, 18C in this zip code, all of this. So it's just the data. And now you can put this a REST wrapper on top of it. Okay. You can put a simple REST wrapper on top of it. And then you take zip code and you echo back the weather in that area or temperature in that area.
Okay, what's the meaning of putting a REST wrapper on top of it? Do you mean controller and service and all those things?
Essentially, let me see if I have Spring Starter Web. I think I don't have it. If I have the Spring Starter Web, you're exposing a web service, right?
Yeah.
You're just exposing as a web service. That's all I'm saying. This is all probably not needed for the AWS stuff, but if you're curious, just wrap it with just say weather controller. Don't have it? Okay, I do have it. So yeah, essentially this list weather, you can pass it, as get weather data for all zips, something like that. So weather data retriever, yeah, essentially you're just doing, you're passing your, you know, this file to that. I know it's a bad API. I'm passing the bucket name and all, but you understand that's my intention is to unhandled, not a big deal, like that. That's it, and you can say /weather, and then you get everything. That's how it's. You just you will get your list of you know, weather information in a this format. This guy will throw me a null pointer exception because this guy is not wrapped with it's not a Spring managed bean. So make it a Spring managed bean and then run this guy as a Spring Boot app, and you should have your S3 Java SDK application. Sure.
So if I don't know Java, I'm lost here, or I am the only person here.
Manohar, don't worry. This is just, you know, it's just a lot of people are Java people. So I'm just showing something that you don't need it for AWS. It's nothing to do with AWS. Okay, you got everything. Last 30 minutes, you can completely ignore it. Okay. So this is just my curiosity. That's all. Yeah, I just wanted to show to this some of these guys, you know. So this would not work because it's a Spring Boot. It's a simple Spring Boot application, right? I need it actually the web wrapper. I can. Do I have a web wrapper here? Spring Boot, this one will not work. Okay. I don't think. I may not even, you know, upload it. So don't worry about it. So, okay. So.
Is it 8080?
No, yep. Yeah, this guy went there. He just,
Oh, okay.
Dispatcher, because I have to put, oh, so it's because this is a simple, see that at Spring Boot application, right? I have to wrap this guy as, I have it here. Spring Boot servlet initializer, that's all you need, right? That's all you need. Don't worry, Manohar, this is not even needed. So, I mean, you guys understand Java people, right? It's nothing to do with Spring Boot servlet initializer. Let me. This is a one-time this setup, right? At Spring Boot application the controller. Do I need any of the other libraries? Spring Boot starter web, yeah, all of this is fine, right? Spring Boot servlet initializer, Spring Boot application. Spring application dot run. Okay. Yeah, you guys saw that populate. So I was at Spring Boot application extends Spring Boot servlet initializer. That's all right. Let's take a look at this guy. Server, no adapter for handler, weather controller. The dispatcher servlet configure needs to include handler adapter that supports this handler. Why is that? Symbol said, makes sense. Interesting. Let me run this guy S3 util, no weather application. I'm running a different controller, just slash weather, okay. Very good. Okay, so failed to connect JDBC and all, okay. So that means we are making a simple mistake. Let's take a look at okay, Spring Boot Spring application dot run. Okay, I mean everything looks fine to me.
In the weather controller, we didn't do request mapping, something like
At request mapping. I think he did that.
Oh, I didn't put that.
Oh,
in the get weather data for all zips.
Fantastic. Very, 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 very. That's it. Good catch. Excellent catch. At request mapping was missing. God. Or at whatever that get mapping, huh? At get mapping. There you go.
that's why it's not doing the get.
Thank you. That's a good catch. So what does it say? It's been a while since I coded. So slash weather, I think I may have to put a slash there. Let's say.
Maybe we need response body. I'm not sure.
It gave that at rest controller, right? So 404, it's not found. Huh? Okay, interesting. Okay. Slash weather.
Not from me. This is already started, right? Okay, yeah.
It's these slashes are slash weather slash all. I can even put response body, but it's a get mapping. Oh, sorry, there is an error here. Failed to refresh live. Okay, oh, this guy. Okay. This is fun.
Venkat, make
Yes.
that method as public. Get weather data.
Public, huh? I think that's the reason. Let's check.
No luck.
404 not found. Slash weather. No, something to do with this one only. Something to do with this guy only. Oh, now we got 500. Okay. See that? Earlier we got 404. Now we got 500.
We were getting
Okay,
444.
no adapter. Okay, now it went inside Spring Web MVC. Is that what you're saying? Okay, let's see here itself. Dispatches are let in context. Oh, path through exception. No adapter handle weather. Oh, weather controller. Okay. Okay, the dispatches are let. Makes sense. Needs to include a handler adapter that supports. What the heck? Interesting.
Do we need to annotate anything about the weather? List of weather, right? I don't know.
You can call this endpoint last for clarity fixes, but assuming default Spring Boot on at rest controller.
So you have to remove remove that one.
Is this wrong?
And then in the at request mapping, you put that one. Weather.
Yeah, is that?
That's what the document.
I know. Yeah, that's what he said. But is that true from your?
I don't remember.
This is shame.
That's okay.
God
There.
damn it. That's a shame. to get to wrap with the rest, bunch of Java
That's
people,
why I've started. That's why I've started hating Java,
including me.
not Java. Your
These many minutes we took
Spring.
it. It's shame on us. It's but it's okay. It's every time it's yeah. So okay, we missed it.
You always need an example. Java, you may see, unless you really see an example.
Yeah, no big deal. But you guys understand, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, we wanted to wrap our piece with a simple REST controller. Now you can expand it. If I pass the zip code, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you give me the temperature for that. Essentially, that's what it is. Right?
Yeah.
Excellent, guys. So it's a 12:06. In fact, I wanted to finish the last 10 minutes. We spent 15 minutes. That's outrageous. Oh, in fact, we looked at this application also. No, I looked at the weather application. I thought something to do with the Spring Boot servlet initializer, but it's what's wrong here? Oh, serious? We didn't put. I mean, yeah, I put wrong there. Okay. Actually, what's this annotation? Just curious. You can. What's the value here? Oh, it's an alias for, okay, Spring value. The value may indicate a solution for a logical component name. I was thinking that path name is what you will give as a value for your REST controller, but it's actually logical component name. Sucks. Okay. Anyways, nothing to do with AWS, guys, but just curious. I do some experiment like this, for every batch, something or the other. Okay. Just I just go out of AWS. Just
No, this was very helpful actually, because see, in actual life, Java will come. Java with cloud is a very common thing. So in that sense, I find it very relevant.
Yeah, that's why I typically do that. What's that? GitHub. 1 second, guys. GitHub. Next step training, I'm assuming, or something. So I will send you okay, there you go. So these are my Git repositories. Weather, S3 event handler, don't worry about it. So use this weather and weather data setup. You can use it. So this is where you will hand that S3 handler. So you will, or I'll upload it if it's not there already. Okay. But these are all my, within GitHub, look for my next step training, and you will see all these, repositories. I'll put this S3 demo also into that. Yeah. S3 Java SDK. Okay, guys.
Okay,
That's all I've got.
Okay, I have got a question from
1 second. Let me
last
stop
night.
the recording, and I will cut the last Java portion probably. Yeah. And put it out there. Take care.
Okay.
In today's thing, right?
Good. Oh, 1 second. Let me stop recording.